My beloved brothers and sisters, many times in life, people enter into relationships thinking it is all good. You believe she is the one, you convince yourself that everything is fine, but deep down inside your heart whispers that something is off. You notice the little cracks, the little signs, yet you brush them aside because you don't want to face the truth. You tell yourself, maybe I'm just overthinking. Maybe it will get better. But let me remind you, Allah has blessed you with peace of mind, with dignity, and with self-respect. These are gifts you must never allow anyone to destroy. When a relationship begins to chip away at your confidence, when it starts making you doubt yourself, when you find that instead of growing you are shrinking, instead of thriving you are merely surviving, that is no longer love. That is a burden. Real love should never strip you of your happiness. It should never make you question your worth. A true partner will honor your boundaries, respect your time, and stand by you in honesty. But if you are with someone who constantly manipulates, disrespects, or drags you down, then my brothers and sisters, you need to be brave enough to ask yourself the hard question. Is this really what Allah wants for me? Because let me tell you, if your woman does these toxic things, it is not a small matter of overthinking. It is a matter of protecting your mental health, your peace, and your very soul. And if you do not walk away, one day you will wake up a shadow of yourself broken, confused, and empty. That is not what you deserve. So today, let us be real. If you notice these red flags, if you see these signs, it is not weakness to leave. In fact, sometimes the strongest thing you can ever do for yourself is to walk away. Sometimes in a relationship, the very thing that slowly destroys you is not the shouting, not the arguments, not even the visible fights, but the quiet twisting of your reality. You begin to notice something is not right, but when you speak up, you are made to feel like you imagined it. You are told you are overthinking, that you are being too sensitive, that you have misunderstood. Over time, you begin to question your own memory, your own feelings, even your own mind. This is gaslighting, and it is one of the most dangerous forms of emotional manipulation, because it makes you lose trust in yourself. When someone you love constantly denies your reality, rewrites your experiences, or makes you feel like you are the problem, you slowly start doubting every thought that comes into your head. Instead of standing firm, you begin to shrink. Instead of having confidence, you start apologizing for things that are not your fault. At first, you may think it is a small thing. You may convince yourself that everyone makes mistakes, that maybe you are misunderstanding her words. But slowly, little by little, you notice that every time something goes wrong, you are the one who ends up confused. You are the one who feels guilty. You are the one who walks away thinking, maybe I really am the problem. This is not love. This is not care. This is a deliberate tactic that chips away at your mental health. A partner who loves you will listen when you say, "That hurt me." They will acknowledge your feelings, even if they disagree. They will never make you feel like you imagined your pain. The danger of gaslighting is that it makes you a stranger to yourself. You begin to lose your voice because you are afraid it will be mocked. You lose your strength because every time you try to stand up, you are pushed back down with words that twist the truth. You lose your trust in your own eyes, your own ears, your own memory. That is not a relationship. That is a prison built with invisible walls. And no matter how much you love someone, if they are constantly breaking you from the inside, then you need to recognize it for what it is. Real love gives you clarity, not confusion. Real love builds your confidence, not destroys it. If someone repeatedly makes you question your sanity, just to win an argument or hide their mistakes, then you are not in a partnership. You are in a battle that you can never win. You deserve better than that. You deserve to be with someone who values your truth, who listens to your heart, who accepts your experiences as real. If you stay where you are gaslighted, you will eventually lose yourself completely. But if you walk away, you will rediscover your strength, your voice, and your worth. And that is far too precious to be handed over to someone who does not honor it. In every healthy relationship, boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your well-being, your dignity, and your peace of mind. They are not walls meant to keep people out, they are the foundations that help love to flourish with respect and balance. When you say, "I need some space today," or "this behavior makes me uncomfortable," you are not being unreasonable. You are honoring your own emotional needs and setting limits that allow both you and your partner to feel safe. But when those boundaries are consistently ignored, mocked, or crossed, then it is no longer love, it is control disguised as affection. At first, it may look harmless. You say you need rest, and she insists on your attention anyway. You express that a certain action bothers you, and she laughs it off as if your feelings are unimportant. You ask for respect in certain areas, and she rolls her eyes as though you are being dramatic. But the truth is, every time your boundaries are disrespected, a piece of you is stolen. Your peace is disturbed, your time is wasted, and your dignity is chipped away. A partner who truly cares will respect your limits, even when they don't fully understand them. They will value your comfort because they value you. The problem is that once you allow someone to repeatedly cross your boundaries, you begin to lose your own sense of self. You start to question whether your needs are valid. You silence yourself to avoid conflict. You convince yourself that it is easier to give in than to stand your ground. Over time, you end up living according to someone else's terms, forgetting that you too have the right to be heard and respected. This is how relationships become toxic, not through one big explosion, but through small daily acts of disregard. Boundaries are not about control, they are about respect. They tell your partner, "This is how I expect to be treated. This is what I need to feel safe and valued." If she cannot honor that, then she is not treating you as an equal. She is treating you as someone whose needs are less important than her own. That is not love, that is selfishness, and no amount of excuses, no amount of promises, can replace the basic foundation of respect. If someone refuses to respect your boundaries, it is a clear sign that they do not truly respect you. And if you continue in that relationship, you will find yourself drained, constantly giving, constantly bending, until you break. You were not created to live like that. You were created with worth, with dignity, with the right to peace. A partner who loves you will protect those rights, not strip them away. Do not settle for someone who ignores your boundaries. Protect your peace, protect your dignity, protect yourself. Because once you lose those things, they are not easily regained. And the truth is, if someone cannot respect your limits, they cannot respect your love either. One of the clearest signs of an unhealthy relationship is when your partner always plays the victim. At first, it might not seem obvious. She may present her side of the story in such a convincing way that you feel sympathy for her, even when she is the one in the wrong. But as time passes, you begin to notice a pattern. No matter what happens, it is always somehow your fault. She lies, but she blames you for not giving her enough attention. She shouts, but she claims you pushed her to it. She makes a mistake, but she insists you did not support her enough. Slowly, you start carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. You begin to question yourself in situations where you have done nothing wrong. The problem with someone who constantly plays the victim is that they are avoiding responsibility. They wear the mask of helplessness not because they are genuinely suffering, but because it shields them from accountability. This creates a cycle where you are always the one apologizing, always the one trying to fix things, always the one walking on eggshells to avoid another round of blame. It drains your energy and eats away at your self-esteem. You start to feel like no matter what you do, it will never be enough, because she has already decided that you are the villain in every story. A healthy relationship requires honesty and balance. Both people must be willing to admit when they are wrong, to take ownership of their actions, and to work together to improve. But when one person refuses to accept any fault, there is no room for growth. You cannot build a partnership with someone who uses every disagreement as a stage to portray themselves as the wounded party. Over time, this turns into emotional abuse. You are manipulated into believing that you are the cause of every problem, that you are the one destroying the relationship, while she continues to escape responsibility. It is exhausting to live like that. It is like carrying a weight that does not belong to you, day after day, until you are too tired to stand. You begin to believe the lies. You start to see yourself as the problem, and slowly, you lose sight of your own truth. That is the power of someone who plays the victim. They make you forget who you are by convincing you that you are always wrong. But you must remind yourself love is not about blame. Love is not about shifting responsibility onto the other person. Love is about honesty, accountability, and growth. If someone refuses to accept their mistakes, then they are refusing to build a real relationship. You cannot heal, you cannot move forward, and you cannot thrive with someone who only knows how to point fingers. If you find yourself in a situation where you are always the one apologizing, always the one made to feel guilty, always the one carrying the blame, then you must recognize that this is not love. This is manipulation. You deserve a partner who owns up to their actions, who admits when they are wrong, and who works with you, not against you. Do not stay where you are turned into an emotional punching bag. Protect your heart, protect your peace, and know your worth. Silence can be beautiful when it is filled with peace, but it can also be deeply painful when it is used as a weapon. One of the hidden forms of emotional abuse in relationships is the silent treatment. At first, it may seem like just a moment of cooling down, a way of avoiding conflict, but when it becomes a repeated pattern, it is no longer about space or calmness. It is about control. When she shuts down communication, ignores your words, and leaves you in confusion, she is not just being silent, she is punishing you. She is making you feel invisible, unworthy of acknowledgement, and undeserving of a response. The silent treatment creates an atmosphere of anxiety. You begin to wonder what you did wrong, even if you did nothing at all. You replay conversations in your mind, looking for mistakes, blaming yourself for things you cannot even identify. Days may pass, and still, you are met with coldness, rejection, and distance. This silence speaks louder than words, sending the message that you are undeserving of basic respect. Instead of resolving issues through communication, the silent treatment traps you in isolation, making you feel powerless and unheard. In a healthy relationship, disagreements are handled with dialogue, compassion, and a willingness to understand. Silence should be a space for reflection, not a tool of manipulation. When it is used to create fear or guilt, it is no longer silence, it is cruelty. The problem is that when you are subjected to this kind of treatment repeatedly, you start to accept it as normal. You start to believe that perhaps you do not deserve an explanation. You begin to feel that your voice carries no weight, that your presence makes no difference, and that your needs are insignificant. Over time, you stop speaking up altogether, afraid of being shut out again. The danger of this emotional weapon is that it slowly erodes your sense of worth. You start to shrink into yourself, hesitant to express your feelings, cautious not to upset the fragile balance. But that is not love. Love does not thrive in fear. Love does not silence you, it gives you a voice. Love does not ignore you, it embraces you. Love does not punish you with distance, it pulls you closer even when things are difficult. When someone uses silence to manipulate, it is not about peace or space, it is about power. It is a way of saying, I control when you matter and when you don't. And if you allow this to continue, you will lose yourself piece by piece, until you are just a shadow of the person you once were. But you were not created to live in silence. You were created to be heard, to be valued, to be loved with respect and care. Do not confuse manipulation with love. You deserve a relationship where silence is filled with understanding, not punishment, and where your voice is always welcome. One of the clearest signs of an unhealthy and draining relationship is when you notice constant manipulation in the form of guilt, tripping, emotional blackmail, or twisting reality until you begin to doubt your own truth. It starts small, almost invisible. You may hear phrases like, if you really loved me, you would do this, or, after everything I've done for you, how can you not agree with me? At first, you dismiss it, thinking it's just her way of expressing frustration or wanting attention. But as time passes, you realize it is not occasional. It is a pattern, a deliberate way of making you feel responsible for emotions and situations that are not yours to carry. When guilt becomes the foundation of a relationship, love is replaced with fear and obligation. Instead of giving freely, you begin to give because you are afraid of being accused of not caring enough. Instead of standing firm in your truth, you bend to keep the peace, because resistance leads to more blame, more tears, more silence that eats away at your soul. And what is even more dangerous is how slowly it creeps in, how naturally it disguises itself as love. You start to mistake her manipulation for passion, her control for care, her demands for needs that you must meet if the relationship is to survive. But survival is not love. Love should not feel like a battlefield where one wins and the other loses. Gaslighting is one of the most powerful tools of manipulation, and in such relationships, it becomes common. You may express your feelings, and she dismisses them as overreactions. You recall an incident clearly, and she insists it never happened. You share your pain, and she convinces you that it is all in your head. Slowly, you begin to question your own memory, your own emotions, your own reality. This is the most destructive form of manipulation, because it doesn't just control your actions, it begins to control your mind. It turns you into someone who cannot trust themselves anymore, someone who seeks constant reassurance, even when they know the truth deep inside. A partner who manipulates you will always shift the narrative to make themselves the victim and you the problem. If they hurt you, somehow you will end up apologizing. If they fail to keep a promise, somehow you will be blamed for expecting too much. If they neglect your needs, somehow you will be made to feel guilty for even having them. It is a cycle that leaves you emotionally exhausted, constantly second-guessing, constantly giving more of yourself until you are left with nothing. The tragedy of manipulation is that it blinds you. You hold on, thinking things will change, thinking maybe if you just love harder, give more, forgive again, she will see your worth and stop using guilt as a weapon. But love that requires you to sacrifice your peace and dignity is not love, it is bondage. True love lifts you, strengthens you, and helps you grow. Manipulation breaks you, weakens you, and keeps you small. Imagine carrying a weight every day that is not yours to carry, a burden that keeps growing heavier with every demand, every accusation, every false story twisted against you. That is what manipulation feels like. It drains you silently, until you wake up one day and realize you are no longer yourself. You have given so much energy to defending, explaining, and justifying that you have forgotten what it feels like to be free, what it feels like to be respected, what it feels like to be truly valued. In a healthy relationship, there is no need for manipulation because love thrives in honesty. If your partner has a need, they communicate it clearly. If they are hurt, they express it with vulnerability, not with guilt trips. If there is a conflict, both sides take responsibility where it is due, without twisting stories to escape blame. Manipulation cannot exist where there is maturity and respect. It only thrives where one person seeks control over the other. You were not created to live under emotional control. You were not created to constantly question your worth, to beg for clarity, to bend your reality just to keep someone else comfortable. Love is not supposed to drain you, it is supposed to nourish you. It should bring light, not darkness. It should give you peace, not constant confusion. If you find yourself in a relationship where you are always the guilty one, always the problem, always the one carrying the weight of blame, then it is time to step back and see the truth. Manipulation thrives when you remain silent, when you keep excusing it, when you believe the lies repeated to you. But the moment you recognize it for what it is, the chains begin to break. You must reclaim your truth, stand firm in your worth, and remind yourself that love without respect is not love at all. You cannot heal in a place where you are constantly being wounded. You cannot grow in soil that is poisoned with lies, and you cannot thrive in a relationship that thrives on guilt. Life is too short to waste in cycles of manipulation. You deserve a partner who honors your feelings, who values your voice, who supports you without conditions. You deserve to live in truth, not confusion. You deserve peace that doesn't come with a price tag of emotional blackmail. And you deserve a love that makes you stronger, not weaker. Never let manipulation convince you otherwise. One of the most dangerous yet often hidden forms of emotional abuse is constant criticism. At first, it may appear harmless, like small comments or casual remarks that seem like jokes. You might even brush them aside, convincing yourself that she doesn't really mean it, or that perhaps you are too sensitive. But over time, those little jabs start piling up. They become a pattern, woven into everyday conversations, until you find yourself living under a cloud of negativity. Constant criticism is not about helping you improve or guiding you toward growth. It is about control, belittlement, and slowly breaking down your confidence. When every effort you make is met with disapproval, you begin to feel that nothing you do is ever enough. You may try harder, give more, sacrifice endlessly, yet the words you hear are still, "You could have done better," or "Why can't you be like this instead?" In the beginning, you fight back, defending your actions, explaining your intentions. But as time goes on, you lose the energy to argue. You start to accept the criticism, letting it sink deep into your heart, until you actually believe the lies being spoken about you. That is the silent poison of constant criticism. It makes you doubt your worth. It makes you shrink inside yourself, and it convinces you that your value depends on someone else's approval. Criticism in a healthy relationship is constructive. It comes with kindness, with respect, and with love. It says, "I see your potential, and I want to support you in becoming the best version of yourself." But in a toxic relationship, criticism is destructive. It is delivered not to uplift but to tear down, not to guide but to humiliate. And the worst part is that it often happens behind closed doors, hidden from the outside world. To others, she may appear supportive and loving, but in private, her words cut deeply, leaving invisible scars that nobody else sees. Living under constant criticism changes you. You become cautious in your words, careful in your actions, always walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering yet another disapproving remark. You lose the freedom to simply be yourself, because every part of you feels under inspection. Even your strengths are turned into weaknesses. If you succeed, the achievement is belittled. If you try something new, it is mocked. If you show vulnerability, it is used against you. Slowly, you begin to hide parts of yourself, thinking it is safer to stay small than to face another wave of judgment. The tragedy is that many people mistake this behavior for love. They think, maybe she just wants me to improve. Or, she's only saying this because she cares. But true care does not make you feel worthless. True care does not break your spirit. True care encourages you, appreciates your efforts, and celebrates your progress. A partner who constantly criticizes you is not trying to make you better. They are trying to make you feel dependent on their validation. They want you to believe that without their guidance, you are nothing. That belief keeps you trapped, keeps you trying harder, and keeps you silenced under the weight of their disapproval. Words carry power. A single word of kindness can build someone up for years, while a single word of cruelty can haunt someone forever. When criticism is constant, it becomes a tool of control, reshaping the way you see yourself. You may have entered the relationship confident, full of dreams, and aware of your strengths. But with time, you may find yourself a shadow of who you once were, questioning your decisions, doubting your abilities, and feeling small in your own life. This is not by accident. It is the result of being conditioned to believe that you are not enough. A relationship is meant to be a place of safety, where you are loved and accepted even with your flaws. It is a partnership where growth happens naturally, through encouragement and mutual support. But if you find yourself in a place where every flaw is magnified, every mistake is exaggerated, and every effort is dismissed, then you are not in a place of love. You are in a place of slow destruction. And the longer you stay, the deeper the wounds become. It takes great strength to recognize constant criticism for what it is, because when you are inside of it, you often cannot see how damaging it is. You excuse it, normalize it, and adapt to it. But once you step back and look at the bigger picture, you begin to see how much of yourself you have lost. You see how much joy has been stolen, how many dreams have been delayed, how much confidence has been crushed. And it is then you realize that love should never feel like this. You deserve to be in a relationship where your efforts are noticed, where your strengths are celebrated, where your weaknesses are met with compassion, not humiliation. You deserve to be with someone who understands that words can heal as much as they can hurt, and who chooses words that build, not words that break. Criticism should never be a daily weapon. It should be a rare tool, used gently, only when needed, and always delivered with love. Never allow constant criticism to define your worth. Your value does not come from someone else's opinion of you. Your worth is not diminished by words meant to wound you. You are more than the negative labels thrown at you. You are capable, deserving, and worthy of respect. Do not let repeated criticism silence your voice or shrink your light. Love is meant to be a space where you can shine brighter, not one where you are constantly dimmed. Life is too precious to live under constant judgment. If you find yourself in such a situation, take a step back and remind yourself of your true worth. Reclaim the voice that has been silenced. Rebuild the confidence that has been chipped away. And never forget, a healthy love will never require you to sacrifice your self-respect just to keep the peace. You deserve a love that sees the best in you, not one that constantly searches for the worst.